All right, I'll call this meeting to order. It is 7 o'clock. It's Monday, September 9th, 2024. I'll read the land acknowledgement. The City of Thorold is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawaudaronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The City of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship in the lands in which we live. Is there any declarations of interest for today's meeting? I see none. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Moved by Councillor Sentence and seconded by our new Vice Chair, Marcia. So I'll call the question into favor. All opposed? All in favor? All opposed. Thank you. It was a long summer, so welcome back, everybody. It was, a couple of months off here. So the adoption of the minutes. So can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt the minutes? Moved by Councillor Sentence and seconded. And seconded by Joe. Thank you, Joe. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. It's easier the second time, I guess, right? All right, so we have some correspondence. 6.1 PWCS 38-2024, expressions of interest for the White Arena. So at the meeting on July 9th, 2024, Council passed report PWCS 38-2024 concerning the expressions of interest for the James White Arena. Justin, do you want to give us a quick update on that?
Sure. So through the chair to the group, basically they took the recommendation of the three groups that this committee recommended, and staff are gonna direct it to work with them. And then once there's something to report back, they're gonna report back to council. So that's pretty much where it's at right now.
Great. That's fantastic. Okay. So we do have some committee business to deal with. We have item 7.1, sport field cancellations. So I'm going to call on Marcia to speak on this one.
Yes, I had just brought an idea to the board that maybe the city could look at a cancellation hotline. It is something that's done by many other cities, Niagara Falls, St. Catharines. They do have a number that you would call when there's event cancellations, program cancellations. So if something happens at the pool and they need to cancel, it's a hotline that you call. It's pre-recorded. So a staff would update it at, say, 4 o'clock as they're leaving with, at this time, there is no cancellations. It would help with any inclement weather that we're having and things like that. Today, baseball got canceled because of the weather. I know baseball does not want to be included. They don't want their fields included in the cancellation. But I do see a very benefit to it, not just but if the market got canceled, again, people would have a number. It wouldn't cost us anything in the sense of it's a phone number with a recorded message on the end, and the staff would do it as they're leaving, and they're already dealing with those cancellations and writing them down as they happen.
Okay. Interesting. Any questions, comments? Anyone else want to speak to it? Yes, Councillor Sentence.
I'd just like to, through the chair, could we, Dave, get your opinion on it, what you think? I know other cities do it. I have used it for other cities, but I'd like to hear what Mr. Baldoni has.
Good evening, everyone. Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councillor. So we have thrown this topic around quite a bit, just in the office. St. Catharines does have it, but the benefit St. Catharines has is they have staff on evenings. So to Marcia's point, if we updated it at 4 o'clock as we were leaving, and there was a game, say at 7 o'clock, we would need to have staff sort of monitor what's going on. It's very challenging, poses a lot of challenges trying to keep this updated. The market you didn't really want included. I know the market working group has some sort of a finalized decision on how they're going to cancel the market. It's a matter of reaching out to all the vendors and the bands to make sure that that's canceled. Baseball doesn't necessarily want it, Marcia, you had mentioned. So would you include soccer and the market, or who else would you include? The pool. The pool has a cancellation hotline, or a cancellation number that they can call. Basically, 30 minutes after either lightning or thunder, the pool has to cancel. It's one of our sort of guidelines that we follow. Aside from that, so if we're just talking with baseball, we watch the weather closely leading up to 4 o'clock. We let the conveners know, or the coaches know. At that point, it's up to either the coaches to communicate that to the parents, or just so there's no miscommunication, or the conveners communicate that to the parents or the teams, the team reps. So going back to Marcia's point, St. Catharines does it. They do have staff on through the night that can update this, like admin staff that can sort of update this hourly or as the evening progresses. So.
Right, thanks, Dave. Marcia?
Thank you. I was just thinking too, someone's obviously working because someone's making those calls. Like if baseball's canceled, you guys have made those calls before someone left. Like someone from staff has canceled when we played baseball. But I think it's more for the public, because I think when we have a market, we as a vendor know, yes, but Joe Blow, my neighbor, doesn't necessarily know the market's canceled, or that the Terry Fox's has been canceled, or I think it would help a lot of people. They just have one central number they know to call, just to know all the events that we're putting on. Are they still on? Because you have that question when you see those dark clouds. Is there a market today? I can't tell. It's a snowstorm coming. Is the arena closed? I know from arena, we're waiting to see if Corey's canceled, but Corey's working with you guys. So I don't know if any of my stuff has been canceled, and every coach is calling me, and I can't get hold of Corey because he's at work with you guys. So that's where I'm thinking it would come in handy, just from the outside public, not necessarily the people involved, but letting the public know when they're, constantly blowing up Corey's phone, my phone, Mike's phone if the market's on, things like that.
Thanks, Marcia. Go ahead, Councillor DeVies.
Oh, yeah. With the market, Natalie's been putting it online. When we cancel it in the afternoon, we call it by 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. But I see Dave's point, you need staff to run it. And you don't want to start something and it becomes a job for someone, and it becomes, it looks bad on if we don't keep up to date with it. Maybe I know the city puts on their webpage when we cancel something, so I'm not sure how you would run it. And you hate to people to rely on something, then it doesn't follow through on it. It looks bad. But that's my opinion.
Thanks, Mike. Any other questions, comments?
Brooke has her hand up online.
Yes, go ahead, Brooke. I don't see Brooke on here.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, obviously Dave and I spoke a little bit earlier today, and yes, I did come from St. Catharines, so I am going to just kind of speak on my previous experience, because Marcia is correct, we do have one in St. Catharines. The one in St. Catharines was actually, before I left, was being reviewed because we were having such issues with it, because it doesn't get updated every time, that the times that people wanted. So it became very troublesome, because I had a lot of people who would call me constant all day. Is the field canceled? Is the field canceled? Constant all day. And that would be my whole day sometimes. So that was something we were actually reviewing to maybe do something different, because we had like Kitchener and Toronto where we're looking at, they have it online. They have it as like a tick box where it's like green is go, red is no. And throughout the day that would be updated, and it would kind of say at the top, updated as of 4 o'clock on August 9th, right? Like, so that's kind of what I said to Dave, is maybe we look into something like that down the line to maybe discuss with our comms team and things like that. But it will be a little bit harder, I think, than just like adding it in, because it is, yeah, we have fields like baseball, soccer, things like that. The pool is a little bit different because it's a constant changing, because sometimes it can be raining, but then if it lightnings, it's 30 minutes and a constant change, right? So that's a little bit different. And then the market, same thing, like it's a constant changing thing. So it's something we can definitely discuss for future though. And Dave and I have actually talked about this. So it's not something that's not on my radar. It's just maybe looking at a different option than just a phone system too, right? So I just wanted to put my 2 cents in for a second, but if you have any questions for me about the St. Catharines one, please let me know.
Thanks, Brooke. I know just from coaching with like with soccer and with hockey, we use our team apps. Everyone has team apps. Is maybe a good way to like have it standardized throughout the associations, that, you know, when you register, I don't know if every team does it. I don't know if baseball does it. I know soccer, it was new, just our rep teams did it this year. But if there was a way that maybe the conveners or the presidents of the league, the people making that call, was somehow involved in the team app or just added to the team app, and then they could broadcast it that way through, just a suggestion. Is there any other discussion? So it sounds like, Brooke, you're thinking about it. It's on your radar. Do you want to just leave it at that for now with them? Okay. Yep. All right. Thank you, Brooke. Thanks, Dave, Marcia. Our second item, 7.2, the Battle of Beaver Dams Park sign. I'm going to call on Dave for this one.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So back in 2021, 2022, the park underwent a major renovation. There was supposed to be some signage, 3 locations throughout the park where these signs would be located. These are a long time coming. A couple engineers had passed hands, some leaving, some moving on to different municipalities. So eventually this landed on my desk. So this is a concept been working on. I'm very happy with the way it turned out. So this one has the history of Lock 25 on it. This is going to be located at the entrance off of Sullivan Avenue. So at if everyone knows where the arch is. So that's the north end of the park, south end being where the playground and pavilion are. So this one will be located there. The other 2 are located throughout the park. One is at the south end by, I guess it'd be by number 1, if everyone can see the map or the picture detailing the map. And one is located up at number 13, so sort of off D. DeVitas Way. So that entrance to the park, from the parking lot, by the gazebo or the play space, there would be a sign located there. This gives a little history about the Lock 25. And Natalie came up with a great suggestion. We're going to have a QR code in the bottom right corner of these signs. So these signs are about 1.6 meters wide. And I think the smallest one is about 1.3 meters wide. So they're rather large signs. There'll be a QR code in the bottom right corner of these signs. They're going to be metal. The QR code, if you scan the QR code, it's going to tell you some history about Thorold, some of the memorial plaques and benches in the park. And we'll be able to change that QR code going forward. Whenever things are added or removed, we'll be able to add those to a new sticker of a QR code and place that, remove the old sticker and put a new QR code sticker on it. We've reached out to the Historical Society, Tom Russell. He's verified some of the verbiage on the history of the Lock 25. I'm happy with the way it turned out. It identifies Mickey DeFrucia's butterfly garden. We've used some plants and flowers that were placed in his garden. There's some small caterpillars, butterflies, ladybugs, some little hidden things for kids to sort of play with and find in the park and stuff. So I'm open to questions if anybody has any.
I see you have a couple. I'll start at the top here. I have Councillor DeVias first.
I just have a comment. Dave, I'm very pleased that this is going forward. It's been a couple of years and I noticed the cement coming out of the ground where these signs are going to go. I think it's going to really benefit the park and just give it the finishing touches it needs. The QR code is a brilliant, brilliant idea, and you can update it with upcoming events. And I think it's just perfect. And all three spots are going to look great. And I'm really happy with the design and everything. Well, that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Jeff.
I'll just reiterate what I just heard and reinforce it. I think it's an excellent idea. It's very engaging. The QR code is going to be informative for people who don't know much about what they're embarking on. And well done, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other comments from around the room? Mike, you read my mind. I was actually wrote the note saying the upcoming events, because it's a good idea if you're walking through the park and you don't know what's on the next week, you actually scan it and be like, oh, who's playing tonight if you're walking by, or who's playing the next day. But great idea. Anyone else? Okay. Any other discussion on, okay, let's move on to item 7.3, our meeting schedules. I believe this was, I'm going to call in Jeff here to walk us through this. This was a discussion that we had during our last meeting prior to the summer break. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'd like us to have a more fulsome discussion about our meetings and specifically why we're taking the summer off. I'm unclear on why that is. So if there's a rationale for that, I'd welcome learning about that. My sense is it's rather inefficient. We're a Parks, Trails, and Recreation Committee. There's a fair bit of Parks, Trails, and Recreation activity in the summertime. Most other municipalities meet, their Parks and Trails committees meet in the summertime. If anything, I think we could make a case for taking maybe January off, or January and February off when we don't have as much to discuss. And yeah, I just think that we're all in the interest of providing good value, tax dollar value for citizens. We expect that of City Hall. We expect City Hall to be run efficiently. And I think that this committee should hold ourselves to the same standard. So that's what I'm hoping to discuss with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Comments, questions? All right, go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Jeff. I'll just give you the Cole's notes of some of the thoughts on the summer off is between vacation for staff and for other people on the committees. It was really hard, and the library committee does the same thing, and a couple others, of getting quorum, getting people out. So the only thought process that I've ever heard was that, and the chair can call a meeting anytime if it's an emergency. So that's a rationale, but I'm willing to do whatever the committee wants to do. So just thought I'd let you know what it was.
Thanks, Ken. Next, Joe. You have a comment, Joe?
I'd just like to say I concur with Jeff. Parks Committee, and I hear what Councillor Sentence is saying, but it does seem kind of silly to have the Parks Committee off during the summer. There's other ones that really don't matter. They can take a month or two off, but as I say, it just strikes me as silly for the Parks Committee to be off during the summertime.
Thanks, Joe. Well, for myself, I know that, we're Parks, Trails, and rec facilities. Our rec facilities are open year round. A lot of it is to do with, a lot of our discussion has been geared towards the arena and what we're doing with it. It's kind of a winterized thing, but again, I'm open to anything. And likewise, taking January and February, those are kind of when you start getting the itch of like, oh, what are we doing this summer? And those are when the ideas come. If we start giving them ideas in March and April before everything opens, it kind of, you kind of don't get those things done right away. And likewise, if you give them ideas in July and August, well, there doesn't give them very much time to incorporate any, or basically do anything really about it. So, I mean, there's a flip side to each coin. I mean, I'm on base with anything that the committee wants to do. It's just the committee, I mean, obviously someone make emotions and see what happens. But I also see Councillor Device, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, Jeff, you bring up a great point. I agree. Maybe we should have it year round. Now with Zoom and on your phone, you can do it at home, anywhere. They don't last that long. It's important to always keep this ball rolling, and it could get stagnant in the summer and something might come up. And if you can't make the meeting, you can't make it. But if we can get most of the people now, with, like I said, with Zoom and your phone, you could be up north, pull your phone out and be on this conversation. Yeah. So I support that motion myself too.
Thanks, Mike. Go ahead, Joe.
This is something that I think Justin would have to advise on, but could it not be possible to set up a advisory committee, which could include every member on this committee, but as an advisory capacity, that if anything came up that was relevant to parks, the advisory committee is told, and then the advisory committee can officially notify the chair to call a meeting if something really comes up.
Well, we do have the ability to call a meeting at any point. So I always leave it open within my emails on a monthly basis that if anyone has anything that they want added to the agenda, by all means, add it to the agenda. We could call a meeting tomorrow. This committee, we did call an emergency meeting to get people open, I believe it was not last year, the year before.
Sorry, my mouse is frozen. I'm trying to keep the hand.
As long as there's obviously quorum, and as long as there's agenda items, we can have a meeting every single day of the week if we want. Obviously, you wouldn't, but again, we've also had, I think the instance, was it June of last year, or was it, there was a month that we didn't have any agenda items, and that happens too. So if there are no agenda items, then we don't meet that month. So I'm willing to leave it open as a year-round thing if that's what the committee wants to do. But again, if there's no agenda items, then we just, that meeting just doesn't take place that month. Go ahead, Ken.
No, I was just going to say I'm open to it too. Jeff, do you want to make a motion? I'll second it to try it all year and see how it goes.
Sure, and in fact, I think that's a really good approach. Is we've had two summers where we've taken the summer off generally. Why don't we try one summer meeting throughout the summer, and we'll see how it goes. And does that sound like something that people? I'm happy to put forth a motion if people want to try it for 1 year. Does that sound reasonable?
We just have one more hand up before we make any motions.
So
Go ahead,
through the
Justin.
chair, if we can, I recommend we don't need a motion right now. If I can just take this as direction, because I will put together the exact dates for our meeting, and I'll bring it to our November meeting for the suggested dates, and then we can discuss it and change it then as well. Another question I'll raise is everyone still want block and hybrid? Would be the other questions I'll ask, and then I'll incorporate that into the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, for the summer months, it might make sense because you're saying city staff might not be available. People are on vacation, they're up north. To have 3 people come into open city hall at 7 o'clock on a day after a long weekend, I can see the pain on your face, Justin. I completely agree with you. It's the middle of summer. Obviously, we still need to have the meetings, but maybe it is that instance where this is a perfect opportunity just to utilize the virtual meeting for those, because everyone's got to travel and they're away and whatnot. So, but yeah, put together the dates. That's a good idea. Put together the dates. Formats, and we can just review it at our next committee meeting in November. But it sounds like it sounds like we're all agreeing with you there, Jeff. It makes sense to have, even if it's a 5-minute call or a 15-minute call or a half an hour call.
And then as
Yeah, go
well,
ahead,
through the
Jess.
chair, is 7 o'clock a still preferred time of this committee, or is there a different time that committee wants? Earlier, or still stick with 7?
I'm easy. Go ahead, Ken.
Or present a problem for everybody? Like if we tried 6, is that better for you? Like, yeah,
Okay.
out there and
Well, everyone come back on next month with your set schedules. I know, like, obviously myself, Marcia, hockey's starting, so I'm gonna do it solely based on ice time and when we get our schedule for what we're playing. But typically Monday's usually the day off, and we're usually 6 o'clock is a prime time ice time. So anyway, like I said, think about it on your own. We'll come back to it next week. Any other questions, comments regarding the scheduling? No? Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to the roundtable discussion. I had an email from Bob, and I think this was the perfect opportunity for you to speak with regards to Beaver Dams Park. There was a few items you had that weren't maybe necessarily agenda items, but definitely they were roundtable discussion items. So if you want, you're free to go ahead. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I was on or not. One of the things I wanted to bring up was this, the handicap swing at Beaver Dams Park. Now, I know this has been brought up in the past, probably 2 years ago, and the ground underneath it is just torn up. It's utterly destroyed. Now, I was looking at it and I was told, this committee was told that all it needed was an adjustment. Well, I looked at it and, you know, I don't think there is a way of adjusting it. So I would just like to know if the city is just doesn't know how bad it is, or they've looked at it and said, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Or 3, there's nothing we can do about it, and we don't want to do anything about it. I mean, it is pretty bad. It's just totally why they would put that type of material under something like that is beyond me in the first place. But needless to say, that's the way it is. Now, I just wanted to see if the city has any comment on this particular situation.
Thanks, Bob. I think that's to you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Bob. Bob, we've been tossing back and forth with the manufacturer and the installer. I finally, as of Friday, met with the installer, the playground installer, not the soft poured in place rubber soft landing. Park and Play is going to cover under warranty the replacement of the top coat of the soft landing for the play structure. Jambet was a company out of Quebec that supplied the ODA compliant swing. We've had nothing but problems with it. We've had the pipes sheared off. We've had bolts sheared off. Just due to vandalism, 5-6 kids get on it and they're swinging and they're rocking it north and south as opposed to the east and west motion that it's supposed to go. We've tried locking it out and having people call an on-call supervisor or an on-duty staff member through the evening to have it unlocked. It wasn't really working in our favor, so we've unlocked it again. We've had probably 5 or 6 different instances where we've had to take it down and send it off to a local manufacturer here, to a welding company to have repairs done to it. Last instance was there was a spring assist that lowered the ramp so it didn't drop hard. And that spring broke. These tension springs are supposed to support, 650 pounds, and this spring has failed. So I've reached out to Jambet, the supplier of the swing. They won't return my calls. I've got any heated arguments when we were discussing this, that this is not normal. The way the pipes had severed, I can share pictures. The pipes have split completely, which is it's unheard of. You know, this swing is supposed to support a child in a wheelchair, whether it's a motorized wheelchair but it should support 650 pounds, and it clearly hasn't. So to your point, Bob, we will have the soft rubber landing replaced, and we're looking at options for a swing replacement, unfortunately, at this time.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, I guess I understand that. Okay.
Is there anything else, Bob, that you, or Mike, Councillor Divius, do you want to comment on the park swing?
Oh, no, I don't have a comment on the park swing, but I have something to say about the parks after.
Okay, thanks. Bob, did you have anything else you want to add?
Well, the other thing I wanted to add was it's more on a personal level, and I don't even know if it deals parks, recreation, and trails, but it sounds like it could. And I'm having a lot of problems in my area with rodents, particularly possums, raccoons, skunks. I understand that, you know, they're coming into the city now because the city, in its infinite wisdom, decides to build on any little postage stamp of empty space it can find. And I'm going to be quite honest. I think what's happening at the end of Richmond Street is going to be a problem. It's already started to collect. Like, I went by there one day and there was at least 100 Canada geese just milling around that catch basin that was put in. What's going to happen next? They're going to go over into the frog pond and they're going to start eating that. Isn't there some way of addressing this problem, or is it one of those cases where we didn't look far enough ahead? I mean, isn't there something like I'm at the point with the rodents because that's where they've come into the city. I haven't got a trap. I can buy poison at Canadian Tire. I'm tired of cleaning up after them, and it's becoming very frustrating. And I want to know: does the city provide traps, and do they do anything about this? Anybody can answer that question. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Bob. A couple of things I'll answer there. I don't disagree with you on what's being built and what's being done, but we don't, probably not the answer you want. We don't have the ability to say no. With the new rules of the Ontario government, we can't say you can't build. Like, it's out of our hands. If people find something and it goes good planning for Ontario region and Thorold, those things are not controlled by us. I know we talk about the growth and everything at Thorold. I like Thorold the size it is too, but there should be some medium in there. So from the city point of view, we don't always have a say of where we can build or where we can, or stop somebody from building now. The second part is at our meeting tomorrow, we're going to bring forward a rodent rebate program like other cities have, where we put in, I don't know what the number is, but we're going to look at it at budget time, where we put 25,000 or 50,000 into a pot, and you can apply to get half of what it costs of your, I called one of the bigger firms and I asked them what it costs for a yard for rats and control, and it's about $400. So you would have the ability to get $200 or whatever it is, half back, to have the traps or have one of the bigger companies come out, or any company you wanted to, and then you would have some help there. So that is actually going to be proposed tomorrow at our meeting. So we're going to try. It's not a quick fix. It's not an overnight fix, but maybe if it's yard by yard and people by people, maybe we can help. But you're not wrong about the build. You're not wrong. All the paper mills and all the mills that have gone down, they go somewhere. That's where they used to be. So we don't have control over some of that, but we're going to try and put a program forward that will allow you to have some relief or some help with some of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Councillor Device, I see you with your hand up.
Okay, thank you. We're all working hard on the parks to keep them beautiful and to get them going, and we're promoting it to get business brought in there. But we have another problem. We need to start getting bylaw in the parks There's people drinking in the park. When you get there at 4 o'clock, I walked through today, people are having like 6 or 7 beers in there. I know we have homelessness problem. I'm walking through the park. There's people passed out cold on the floor. I took pictures out cold in the park. So when you have families walking through the park, it's not doing us any favors by having that. We got to get bylaw involved more now. We need a plan how to keep our parks safe now, because this problem is going to come. It's going to get bigger and bigger like it does in other cities. So if we don't put a plan in place now with the parks, it's gonna make them unsafe. And all the work we're doing to promote this beautiful Beaver Dam Park, and not just Beaver Dam Park, all the parks, we have to be on top of this and think business-wise how we're going to run this park, because it's going to affect the outcome of people coming to the park, and it's going to give you a bad stigma if we don't have something in place, or even somewhere online they can someone sees something, they can report it, or bylaw, there's a camera there, so the bylaw guy doesn't have to walk through there. He can go on his camera and look at it, see at the park. But we have to think of something. I don't know the answers, but we have to put our thinking caps on now and get ahead of this problem.
Thanks, Mike. Just further to your point about it getting worse, and I hate to say it, but I'm going to comment, but once the McDonald's is built, that problem in the park is just going to get worse, because there was never a spot before. There's that option. There's that food option that was never in downtown Thorold before, and now it's there. The cheap, like, it's just I hate to comment on it, but it's just, it will only get worse with the McDonald's being
you're right.
built.
Yep. Oh yeah, exactly.
You think
And
it's
I
bad. You
noticed
think
a
you
lot
see
more
10 kids,
vandalism
you see 10 people in there now. Once the McDonald's is going to be 50. So that's a discussion for another day, I guess.
Yeah.
Any other roundtable discussions? Yes, Marcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 2 items, actually. Dave, can we get an update on the dog park?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. Great question, Marcia. The dog park, we don't have an exact date. We're waiting on the sign to be completed. It's kind of impromptu to open a dog park that's been donated or was being named after a family without having a sign for them, to honor their great donation. I'm told it's 3 weeks away. We've just recently received the park benches and the donated bag dispensaries and the garbage cans that will hold the dog feces. Again, we're just waiting on proper signage from Signature Signs. That's it. I'm told it's 3 weeks away.
Thank you. And then my second item is to ask the city to bring back the conversation of Live Barn. When Curtis was here before, Live Barn had presented to the city about bringing it to our arena. So I'm going to wear my Niagara Hockey District hat right now as I sit on that executive board. We are the only arena in Thorold that doesn't offer Live Barn now. In even Canada Games Park, they just launched it there. I see the big signs yesterday. So we are the only city that isn't offering Live Barn. So it doesn't cost the city anything. The company comes in, they install all the cameras, and then the city gets a 10% piece of the sales when a family buys a subscription. I've been asked to kind of ask council if they'd revisit it. I know Curtis told us before we couldn't do it because the city had a contract for filming in here with a company, and so you couldn't, that was part of the contract that you guys couldn't hire another outside firm to video. But I'm wondering if that contract is up because Curtis has been gone a little bit. We don't have it anymore. And I know Live Barn has contacted the city when Curtis was here. So I was hoping we could maybe re-talk with them again if possible.
Thanks, Marcia. Any comments, Dave?
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. That's something we can definitely entertain. I'll gather some information and see what next steps need to take place. Have Live Barn installed in our arena.
Thank you, Dave, through Mr. Chair. I will have them contact you then, and so that way, it just sad that we were the only one that didn't have it, so It'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Marcia. I'd like to comment on that too, because I coach in St. Catharines with junior Badgers, and teams put towards sponsorship money so they can have Live Barn as a viewing system for their team. So it's almost all your rep teams are going to get it. A lot of parents. The subscriptions, I believe it was $29.99 for a basic and $35 a month for a premium one. And if the city's getting 10% of that every single time a team or a parent or somebody subscribes to it, I mean, it's a no-brainer to me. But thank you for bringing that up, because it is the only arena around that I've been to that doesn't have it. I know. Yes, Councillor Dave Ice.
I just had one more thing. I want to say thank you to Dave Baldoni and the staff. You did a great job at Beaver Dams Park all summer long. It hasn't been unnoticed. It was a big task to keep that park clean and bring the tents and the stuff back and forth. I just want to say thank you to all the staff. It was a great year in the market, and I really appreciate all the hard work you guys do. And you're there late. Everybody wants help in the beginning, but late at night when I'm walking out, there's only a couple of guys there doing that work, and they're all city guys. And I've been there loading out with bands late at night, and it's a tough job. And I really appreciate the work they're doing, and they never ever whine and complain. And I'm there talking to them, and they're very positive. So you got a good crew there, Dave. And it starts from the top with leadership, and you're doing a good job, buddy.
Thanks, Mike. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Mike. Through you, Mr. Chair. Just to add to Mike's mention, our last market is this Saturday. Come out. It's from Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, 1 to 3 or 11 to 3?
Starts at 11 with the yoga in the park. Yep. 11
to 3. Taylor Swift and Bruno Mars this weekend to close out the market, this our second year running.
Right.
Yeah, and you couldn't ask for a better family event than Taylor Swift. Bring all the kids out there, face painting, food, all kinds of stuff is happening, and it's free. The magic word, free.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Dave. Also, another shout out. I know I sent you an email before, Dave, but thank you very much for painting those lines and maintaining them for us at Hutt Park all summer. It was great. I'll tell you that we had no idea what to expect putting a rep team out there at 8 years old, and we had, we played about 30 soccer games this year, and we only lost. There was only one team that we couldn't beat the whole year, and I'd say it's not 100%, but having a facility that we were able to teach the game at the proper scale on was a very much help, because I get it. You can have a piece of grass anywhere, kids can kick a soccer ball, but unless you know how far to go and where you're going, you can't do that. So thank you again for doing that. The kids, it was fantastic season. They were great. They won their showcase in the top pod this weekend. So to finish off the season, it was great. It was awesome. Thank you. Is there any other roundtable discussions? It's always nice to end on a positive note. So that being said, our next meeting.
Mr. Chair, I have one for
yes,
you.
go ahead, Justin.
At tomorrow's council meeting, they'll be deciding on filling committee vacancies, and this committee has one vacancy.
Okay.
We should hopefully see that being filled.
Great. Okay, being there's no other further business, the next meeting will be held on October 7th? It says October. Oh yeah. It was a long summer. October 7th, 2024. There's no further business. This meeting will be adjourned at 7:43. Thank you.
Good night. Night, night.
Night. Bob, are you still on?